أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، خاتم النبيين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد، وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين الغر الميامين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين، روحي وأرواح العالمين في مقدمه الفداء، ولعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في محكم الكتاب المبين، وهو أصدق الصادقين وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the 13th part of the program Spiritual Quest, in which we have been dealing with various different topics as an introduction, the Quranic verses, the traditions and the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt, and that special dua that is recommended for us to recite in the holy month of Ramadan daily. For today's discussion and an introduction, I'd like to touch a bit about the Holy Quran. The religion of Islam is superior to any other religion because it guarantees and confirms that pleasure and the happiness in one's life. For Muslims, Islam is a belief system that brings morals and practical laws that are in our sources, that are in the best, that is in the best of the books, the Holy Quran, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala confirms by saying, indeed the Quran guides to the path which is clear and straighter than any other. You'll find this ayah, this verse in chapter 17 verse number 9, and in other places Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, we have revealed to you the book which clarifies every matter. This is also in chapter 16 verse number 89. From these references, it exemplifies the numerous Quranic verses which mention the principles of religious belief, the moral ethics, the moral conduct, and the virtues and the general logical systems governing all aspects of the behavior of a human being. Man has no other aim other than to pursuit for happiness, pursuit for pleasures in this world. A person without pleasures, without leisure, without happiness in this world has no means in this life. For example, if someone is in love, he is pleased with himself, he is happy. If someone earns wealth, if he has a lot of money, if he is earning a lot, he's happy with himself and he's pleased in himself. He's providing for his family, he's providing for himself. He wants to buy anything, he buys. He needs to eat anything, he eats. So when someone is in love, or when someone is in that sustenance where he's earning a lot, his wealth or any other matter, he is pleased with himself and he's happy. But on the other hand, if you look at people who are not happy, people who are on the other side of the world, who are displeased with their life, for example, people who hate their life and commit suicide, or turn their life away from the leisures of life, they also know that the real meaning of life is to attain that pleasure and is to attain that happiness. With man's actions, therefore, are directly aimed at the prospects of happiness and the prosperity of that aim of life and that certain idea. That idea could either be true or false. Man's activity in life is guided by the specific plans or a program. A person without a plan or program in life, there's no means to that life. In fact, it is self-evident that that person has to have that plan and that program in life. But sometimes you see that it's concealed by that very apparentness that man acts accordingly to his will and desires. The Quran also shows a man the right path, the right way to that realization of his goals in life on earth. It describes this path in a complete sense of manner. It's a way of correcting the views and the reality of things, that vision, either be it personal or social. We find in the Holy Quran, chapter 46, verse number 30, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He guides to the truth and the right path. In other occasions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the Torah, the Bible and the New Testament. We have revealed this book to you with the truth, confirming whatever book was before it, and keep watch over it. This is in verse number 48 of chapter number 5. The Quran then affirms the truth and the way of guidance of earlier prophets too. In chapter 42, verse number 13, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, He has ordained for you that religion which He condemned to Noah, and that which He revealed to you, O Prophet, and that we commended to Ibrahim, to Moses and Jesus. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has confirmed that the prophets before the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam have also been guided and have also been shown the truth. In other parts of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in verse number 89 of chapter 16, and we have revealed the book to you as an exposition of all things. From these ayahs, from these references, we acknowledge that the verses of the Quran not only encompasses the meanings and the teachings of the previous divine books, but also it adds to that and completes it. Everything which a man needs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed in the Quran, whether it be personal, whether it be social, whether it be spiritual. Everything a man needs, you will find it in the Quran. It is contained and is explained in the Holy Quran. So if a person needs to find that inner self within himself, he should turn to the Holy Quran. If he is struggling with his life, he should turn to the Quran, not only when he struggles in life, but also when he's happy, he should turn to the Quran, because the Quran has everything, and that person doesn't have everything except for the Holy Prophet and the Holy Infallibles. What we need to remember is that we are not perfect. We don't have that ability to do things that the prophets did. We don't have that ability to do things that the Imams did. We have the Quran and we have the progeny of the Holy Imams and the holy household of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we need to follow the two weighty things that the Holy Prophet left behind. We move on to the 13th dua that should be recited in the holy month of Ramadan, and it goes as follows. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma tahhirni fihi min ad-danasi wal aqdar وصبرني فيه على كائنات الأقدار ووفقني فيه للتقى والصحبة الأبرار بعونك يا قرة عين المساكين. O Allah, on this day, purify me from the uncleanliness and dirt. Make me patient over events which are decreed. Grant me the ability to be pious and keep me company with the good by your help, O the beloved of the destitute. We acknowledge that there are 4 topics that are covered within this dua. The first being is to stay away from external and internal badness. Second being to pursue patience in difficult situations. Thirdly, to grant piety and goodwill. And finally, to be among the good doers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran, in Surah Al-Imran, verse number 146, says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Wallahu yuhibbul sabirin. And Allah loves the patient ones. Allah talks about, as I've mentioned before in other parts, that Allah loves them people as promised by Allah in the Holy Book, that He loves the ones who are patient. So we need to remember to be always patient. In other verses of the Quran, Allah explains in Surah Al-Anfal, verse number 46, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Wasbiru inna Allah ma'as sabirin. And be patient, surely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with the patient ones. So we've looked at 2 ayahs, 2 verses from the Holy Quran, explain that Allah loves the one who is a patient one, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely is with the patient ones. So we have nothing to lose. Be patient or not to be patient. Obviously we'll be them people who choose to be patient because we want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to love us. We want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be on our side. We want His happiness. We want Him to be pleased with us. If He is not pleased with us, then what is the point of living? Imam Ja'far Sadiq alayhi salam, in one of his traditions, has said, talking about patience, لا ينبغي لمن لم يكن صبورا أن نعد كاملا. The person who is not patient is not a person that is from me. He is not from me and he's not a complete person. So if someone doesn't practice patience, thus if looking at the narration from Imam Ja'far Sadiq, he explains that person who is not patient, an incomplete person. In order for a human being to be complete, he has to practice patience. Practicing patience will enable that person to feel good within himself and to follow the teachings of the A'immah, the teachings of the Imams. In order to complete yourself, you need patience. Imam Ali alayhi salam, in many narrations, has talked about patience, but I'll touch a bit about patience, what he has said. He has said, As-sabru uddatul faqr. Patience takes away the poverty and is against poverty. As-sabru shuja'a. Sabr is courage. When someone is practicing patience, he is showing his courage, not only for himself, but also for others. It's a combat against evil, and it's a combat against poverty. So when someone is patient, he does not feel the urge to do anything. Even if he is poor, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will find him that time, will give him that time, and will fulfill his earns and deeds and sustenance. Because if a person is patient, he will wait and wait until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give him. Imam alayhi salam also said, بِالصَّبْرِ تُدْرِكُ الرِّغَائِبِ. By practicing patience, the joyous things in life that you deserve, you will be granted. So whatever you desire in this world, whatever you need in this world, whatever you want in this world, whatever you crave in this world, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant you if you practice patience. A person who doesn't practice patience, how will he be expecting the mercy and the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to shower upon him? So what we need to remember is, in order for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us our desires, we need to practice patience, not with just ourselves, but with others, with the elderly, with the young, with the not only the human creation, but also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creatures also. Not only the human mankind, but also the animals. Imam Ali alayhi salam has also said, الصبر في الأمور من منزلة الرأس من الجسد فإذا فارق الرأس الجسد فسد الجسد وإذا فارق الصبر الأمور فسدت الأمور. Patience, if put into example, it's like a head on a body. If the head of a body is departed, is detached away from the body, then it's like that iman, that religion that is without patience. Patience in matters is different when that matter is without patience. So what we need to understand, that what Imam Ali alayhi salam is trying to say here is that patience is like a person's body. If that body has no head, then the matters in life don't mean anything and they are useless. And that body is also useless if there is no head. So what we need to do is to become a complete person, as Imam Ja'far Sadiq alayhi salam said, as Imam Ali alayhi salam said, to complete a person is to practice patience, to have that patience in one's self. The Holy Quran in Surah Al-Anfal, verse number 65, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَإِن يَكُن مِّنكُمْ 20 صَابِرُونَ يَغْلِبُوا 200 وَإِن يَكُن مِّنكُمْ 100 يَغْلِبُوا أَلْفًا مِّنَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. If there are 20 patient ones, if there are 20 patient of you, they shall overcome 200. And if there are 100 of you, they shall overcome thousands of those who disbelieve. Beautiful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if there are 20 people who are patient, who are believers, who are true believers, then they will overcome 200 disbelievers. And if there are 1,000 believing human beings, they should overcome. If there are 100 believing human beings, they shall overcome 1,000 disbelievers. The Holy Quran also has said in Surah Al-Ma'arij, verse number 5, فَاصْبِرُوا فَاصْبِرْ. The Holy Quran in Surah Al-Ma'arij, verse number 5, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, فَاصْبِرْ صَبْرًا جَمِيلًا. Therefore endure in a goodly patience. We find many ahadith, we find many Quranic verses talking about patience, talking about that wait in life before you jump to conclusion, that step back before you make a decision, that step back before you get angry, that step back before you hurt someone, to be patient in life, because the Holy Prophet practiced it, the Imams practiced it, the noble people also practice it, and you have to also practice it. We end today's program with the recitation of Dua Imam Zaman. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma kun li waliyyika al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة، وليا وحافظا وقاعدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا، حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا، برحمتك وبفضلك يا أرحم الراحمين.